Hello, welcome to another video. Please like, share and subscribe for more amazing story. True God in Another Worlds, Tensura x Tbate, by Tempest_King_20. Chapter 51. The Divulge Claire Bladeheart Pov. Is Arthur doing okay, Captain? Kathleen, the final member to join the meeting, settled into her seat beside me and voiced her concern. Her brows furrowed with genuine worry, her eyes darting between Rimuru and Lily, seeking reassurance. It had been 2 days since the incident in Professor Glory's class. I had visited Arthur in the hospital, and while he tried to put on a brave face, I could sense his fatigue and lingering discomfort. The nurse had insisted on a few days of rest, despite his eagerness to get back to his routine. Rimuru took a measured sip of his coffee, his gaze fixed on the pages of his book. His face remained composed, a mask of calmness that belied the underlying concern he shared for his brother. He exuded an air of tranquility, his features betraying nothing of the tumultuous emotions within him. Yes, he's fine. He should have no problem attending his classes today, Rimuru replied to Kathleen, his voice steady and reassuring. Though his eyes remained on his book, I could tell that he was fully present, his attention divided between the words on the page and the worries weighing on his mind. A wave of relief washed over Curtis as he exhaled deeply, a hint of guilt evident in his voice. He bowed his head slightly, his hands fidgeting nervously. I apologize, Captain. I didn't really mean it, he admitted, his voice tinged with remorse. Don't worry. Although you bear some responsibility for getting carried away, Art and Tess, in particular, made mistakes as well, Rimuru responded, his tone understanding yet firm. There was no judgment in his words, only a recognition of the shared responsibility they each held. Tessia's cheeks flushed with embarrassment and her eyes dropped to her lap. Her fingers intertwined anxiously, twisting and untwisting as a visible display of her remorse. Clive, who had been fidgeting restlessly in his seat, opened his mouth to speak, only to be silenced by a sharp, piercing glance from Rimuru. A flicker of fear danced in Clive's eyes, and a chill ran down my spine as I witnessed the intensity of Rimuru's gaze. I don't blame him for being afraid. I've never seen that side of Rimuru before. I have to admit, that scared me too, even though it wasn't directed at me. The director's choice to make him our leader suddenly made sense. He had a commanding presence that demanded respect and instilled a sense of fear in those who crossed him. In just 3 short days since the commencement of this semester, we have been confronted with a multitude of issues within our student body, Rimuru began, his voice resonating with strength and authority. Instances of bullying, racism, and various forms of discrimination have emerged, particularly with the arrival of our new elf and dwarf students. As members of the esteemed Disciplinary Committee, it is our unequivocal duty to confront these challenges head-on, safeguarding the safety and well-being of every student within our academy. Rimuru paused momentarily, his penetrating gaze sweeping across the room, meeting the eyes of each individual present. They listened intently, their expressions mirroring their comprehension and shared commitment. As the Student Council, we pledge our unwavering support to you, the esteemed members of the Disciplinary Committee, in addressing these pervasive issues, Tessia declared, her eyes locked with Rimuru's, emanating unwavering determination. The other members of the Student Council nodded in resolute agreement, their collective determination palpable. Are you certain? We wouldn't want to impose additional responsibilities upon you, I interjected, a tinge of doubt creeping into my voice. The Student Council was already grappling with an array of responsibilities, and I hesitated to burden them further by requesting their assistance. Lilia, radiating a gentle smile and an aura of calm, responded reassuringly. It falls within our purview as the Student Council to foster a safe and inclusive environment for every student. We stand ready to provide any assistance necessary to the Disciplinary Committee in tackling these pressing issues and ensuring the well-being of our fellow peers. Rimuru nodded, his lips curving into a faint smile of gratitude. We genuinely appreciate your willingness to extend a helping hand, Tessia and Lilia. However, it remains incumbent upon the Disciplinary Committee to shoulder the primary responsibility for handling these matters. Of course, we will turn to you for assistance when needed. But rest assured, we can handle these matters on our own. And if we can't, well. Rimuru's voice trailed off, a hint of darkness in his tone that sent a shiver down my spine. See, Captain. May I inquire as to the meaning behind your words? I stammered, my smile tinged with nervousness. Rimuru's smile broadened as he leaned back in his chair, evidently relishing the unease he instilled. I wonder, he teased, savoring the discomfort he elicited. In any case, as I mentioned, please refrain from intervening unless absolutely necessary. And in this regard, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to you, Sira. You need not thank me, Captain Rimuru. I simply fulfilled my duty as a member of the student council and, above all, as a student within this academy, Sira responded earnestly. Sira had been an invaluable asset over the past 3 days, willingly stepping in to mediate conflicts among students, diffuse tense situations, and offer solace to those in need. We were profoundly grateful for her assistance, as it significantly eased our burden. Rimuru nodded appreciatively. Nevertheless, I express my gratitude, for you have essentially lightened our load by lending a hand. In that case, I humbly accept your gratitude, Captain Rimuru, Sira replied, her smile radiant. With that matter acknowledged, let us now proceed to address the remaining topics at hand. Ah, that was utterly draining, Doradria mumbled, her voice a weary whisper as she sank into her chair. Her body slumped, weighed down by exhaustion, and she let out a long, exasperated sigh. Frustrated strands of hair fell out of place as she ran her fingers through her disheveled locks. Well, that was quite the meeting. Fairith's voice echoed the fatigue that hung heavy in the air. He leaned wearily against the edge of the table, his posture mirroring the burden of the grueling 2-hour meeting with the student council. The lengthy and arduous discussion finally came to an end, and Tessia and the other members of the student council filed out of the room, leaving our group to grapple with the decisions we had made. Curtis furrowed his brow, his voice tinged with uncertainty as he sought reassurance from Rimuru. Captain, do you think we made the right decision by refusing their help? Curtis's gaze searched Rimuru's face, desperately seeking guidance amidst the captain's unwavering expression. Rimuru's countenance remained serious, his eyes unwavering as they met Curtis's gaze. His response carried an unwavering conviction. It was necessary, Curtis, he replied firmly, his words steeped in determination. Establishing our authority in handling disciplinary matters is paramount. We cannot afford to rely too heavily on the student council's assistance, as it may undermine our position of leadership. A weighty pause descended upon the room as Rimuru's unwavering gaze swept over each member of the group, the gravity of his words settling upon them. Each one of you is the embodiment of capability and strength within this academy, Rimuru continued, his voice resolute. Dealing with a troublemaker should pose no significant challenge. However, let not your strength breed arrogance. I listened intently, absorbing Rimuru's words, feeling a sense of duty and responsibility settle in my chest. The captain speaks the truth, I spoke up, rising from my chair. We must approach this task with humility and unwavering dedication. We have a duty to protect the students and ensure their safety, and we cannot allow our personal prowess to cloud our judgment or divert us from our purpose. Nods of agreement rippled through the group, each member wearing a determined expression, fully grasping the weight of their role in upholding order and security within the academy. How about we carve out time between our demanding classes and assignments to practice and refine our skills? Kathleen suggested. We can focus on enhancing our teamwork, communication, and strategizing for diverse situations that may arise. After all, we must be ready for any challenge that comes our way. Rimuru pondered the proposition for a moment before nodding approvingly. Indeed, Kathleen, that is an excellent suggestion, he affirmed, a trace of approval coloring his voice. Let us schedule regular training sessions to hone our skills and refine our strategies. The remainder of the group eagerly voiced their accord, their eyes shining with anticipation and resolve. Plans were swiftly formulated to meet regularly for training and skill development, with everyone determined to surpass their limits and become the best version of themselves. As we dispersed from the meeting room, heading off to our respective classes, a renewed sense of purpose surged through my veins. We were entrusted with the mantle of the disciplinary committee, charged with safeguarding the well-being of our peers, and we would stop at nothing to fulfill that duty. Rimuru Pav I strolled down the academy's brightly lit corridors, each step resounding against the solid stone walls. The rhythmic echo of our footsteps filled the air as Kathleen, Fairith, and I made our way together. The click of their shoes harmonized with the cadence, a symphony of movement. Breaking the silence that enveloped us, Fairith directed his playful question my way. So, Rimuru, you're going to be our next class teacher, right? His voice carried a mischievous undertone, adding a touch of levity to the conversation. I couldn't help but release a frustrated sigh, my exasperation escaping me. Yes, Fairith, It seems that way. Arthur and I will be taking over the role, I replied, my tone tinged with resignation.
Ferrith chuckled, finding amusement in my frustration. Ha ha ha. Well, at least you'll be a vast improvement over the previous professor, he remarked, his laughter echoing through the corridor. He was quite the insufferable pervert, wouldn't you agree, princess? Ferrith turned his attention to Kathleen, acknowledging her presence with a touch of respect. Kathleen nodded, her expression remaining impassive, unaffected by the mention of the previous professor. Indeed, Ferrith. The professor's conduct was highly inappropriate and unprofessional, she stated with unwavering composure. I am relieved that you and Arthur will be assuming the responsibility. I have full confidence in your ability to handle the role with professionalism and respect. I let out a sigh, a mixture of exasperation and gratitude. To be honest, I wouldn't have taken on this task if the director and Arthur hadn't insisted, I confessed, my frustration seeping into my voice. Kathleen maintained her calm demeanor, her face revealing little of her thoughts. Her voice remained steady as she responded, her words carrying a subtle support. By entrusting this responsibility to you, the director has shown both trust and appreciation for your abilities, she said, her tone composed. Though her emotions were concealed, I could sense the underlying encouragement in her words. Reaching the point where our paths diverged, I gestured for Kathleen and Ferrith to proceed to the classroom ahead. I'll catch up with you later. I need to find out if Arthur will be joining us for today's class, I explained. Kathleen and Ferrith bid me farewell, their footsteps gradually fading into the distance. I turned in the opposite direction, making my way towards the infirmary. As I approached the door, it creaked open, revealing Arthur's figure emerging from within. Sylvie, perched gracefully on his shoulder, greeted me with a soft, "Q." "Ah, Rimuru, there you are," Arthur greeted me warmly, a playful smile dancing in his eyes. "Yes, I'm here to drag your lazy butt to class," I shot back, a mischievous glint in my eye. Arthur chuckled, shaking his head in amusement. "Well, lucky for you, I was just about to head there myself," he said, falling in step beside me. The sun spilled its warm rays across the polished floors, creating long shadows that danced playfully with our footsteps. Lost in our lively conversation, Arthur and I chatted about our game plan for the upcoming class. The students were mostly newbies, bursting with eagerness to learn but lacking in experience. It was up to us to guide them through the basics, nurturing their talents and maybe even uncovering some hidden gems. "So, Rimuru, you feeling ready for what's coming?" Arthur asked, his eyes shining with excitement as we neared the classroom door. "Hell yeah," I replied with a wide grin. As we entered the classroom, all eyes swiveled in our direction. The students stared at us with a mix of curiosity and excitement, like we were some kind of exotic creatures on display. We sauntered to the center of the room, standing side by side in front of the bunch of young mages. Sylvie hopped off Arthur's shoulder and plopped herself down on the platform, her eyes shining with interest. The atmosphere crackled with anticipation, and the students' attention became laser-focused on us. The murmurs and conversations that had filled the air moments ago died down to a mere whisper as they eagerly awaited our words. Gazing across the sea of faces before me, I cleared my throat, and began my address. I'm sure everyone here already knows us. I'm Rimuru Lewin, the leader of the DC, and my brother Arthur Lewin, a member of the DC with me. And we are now your new professors. Let's get along, I announced, my voice firm and unwavering. 3, 2, 1, Art silently counted down, preparing for the storm that was about to hit. And right on cue, the students erupted into a chorus of disbelief and outrage. Their voices merged into an uproar of protest, a symphony of dissent. You seriously expect us to believe that you twerps are our new professors? Hollered a second-year student, his voice dripping with disdain. Quit screwing around and get your sorry butts back up here. Who the heck do you think you are? Barked a pint-sized first year, his face contorted with anger. I couldn't help but raise an eyebrow at the profanity spewing from the mouths of such young individuals, surprised by the colorful language they employed. Remarkable. Such uncouth words coming from the lips of a mere 12-year-old, Art scoffed quietly, a sly smirk curling his lips. As I sighed, it seemed like this was going to be more annoying than I thought. Silence, I commanded, my voice resonating with a powerful surge of sound magic that surged through the air, cutting through the chaotic clamor like a sharp blade. The room swiftly fell into a hushed stillness, as if the very walls themselves were compelled to heed my command. I swept my gaze across the room, taking in the shocked expressions etched on the faces of the students. Every pair of eyes was fixed upon me, anticipation and curiosity hanging heavy in the air, awaiting my next words. As much as the current circumstances may displease some of you, it remains an undeniable truth that we are your appointed teachers, I began, a measured and steady tone infusing my voice. The weight of my words settled upon the room, causing a ripple of unease to sweep through the assembled students. They shifted restlessly, uncertainty etched upon their features, as they grappled with the unexpected display of my power. Each and every one of you bore witness to my brother's triumph over the previous professor, I continued, my voice cutting through the lingering silence with unwavering resolve. That former professor, though a skilled adventurer and possessing a light yellow stage mage status, was deemed unworthy of his position by our esteemed director. A brief pause punctuated my speech, allowing the gravity of the situation to sink into the minds of those gathered. The students exchanged nervous glances, realizing the magnitude of the change that had unfolded before them. It was then that our director deemed it fit to appoint my brother and me as his successors, Art continued, his voice carrying an air of authority. And if any doubts linger within your minds regarding our capabilities as your professors, allow me to pose this question. Is there among you a single soul who can even fathom challenging the former professor? The room descended into a profound silence, as the weight of my inquiry settled upon the students. It was clear that none possessed the requisite skills or prowess to stand against the former professor. Exactly, I declared, my voice resolute and unwavering. It is abundantly clear that we possess the necessary expertise to guide and instruct you. Despite our youth, do not underestimate our abilities. We have been honed under the tutelage of the finest mentors, amassing a wealth of knowledge that we are eager to share with each and every one of you. My brother, sensing the moment, added his voice to the chorus of authority. Our mission is to aid you in honing your skills, nurturing your potential, and forging you into formidable mages, he proclaimed, his words echoing mine with a resolute conviction. Therefore, whether you embrace our presence or not, understand this. We are here, steadfast and resolute in our commitment to guide you. Should any grievances or concerns arise, feel free to voice them. However, let it be known that it shall not alter the fact that we are your teachers. A profound silence enveloped the room, as the students grappled with the weight of our words. Though discontent may have lingered within their hearts, they could not deny the truth resonating within our voices. Dash 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 dash. So, how was your first class as a professor? Jackson asked, leaning forward in his chair, his eyes wide with curiosity. He sat at his desk, surrounded by a chaotic mess of papers that he was desperately trying to organize. It went well, I replied, sinking into the cozy couch tucked away in the corner of the room. The soft cushions embraced me, offering a much-needed sense of relaxation after a thrilling day. At first, the students were a bit unsure, but I think they'll warm up to me. They just need a little nudge in the right direction. I glanced around the room, exchanging knowing glances with my friends, silently assuring them that I had everything under control. Just don't go too hard on the poor souls, okay? We don't want any casualties on our hands, Laura teased, perched on the couch in front of me, her legs casually crossed. Do I need to remind you that this is a mana manipulation class, not some intense battle training? I shot back, a mischievous spark in my eyes. Laura simply shrugged in response, not fazed by my remark. But isn't it crazy? I mean, who would have thought you'd become a professor in your first semester as a student? Julia chimed in, her voice gentle as she handed me a steaming cup of tea. What was the director thinking? She added, genuine curiosity and concern shining in her eyes.
Tell me about it. If I had known that old lady was going to pull this stunt, I wouldn't have egged Arthur on to go against Geist, I confessed, a tinge of weariness creeping into my tone. Hey, you never know, maybe this whole experience will turn out to be a blessing in disguise, Jackson interjected, briefly looking up from his jumbled papers. His analytical gaze met mine, offering a glimmer of hope and the possibility of something unexpected. I let out a sigh, taking a soothing sip of the tea Julia had prepared. The comforting warmth spreads through my body, easing the tension that had settled within me. I guess I'll just have to roll with it and see where it takes me, I said, although deep down, I still felt uncertain about the whole situation. The uncertainty lingered, flickering like a candle in a gusty wind. But knowing you, I'm sure you'll handle it like a pro. You've always had a talent for teaching and guiding others, Julia reassured me. Her supportive smile brought me a sense of comfort. Returning her smile, I replied, "Thanks, Julia. I appreciate your vote of confidence." A soft, gentle knock on the door interrupted our conversation, causing Julia to startle from her seat. "Hey there, Kyle and Kyla. Please, come in." Julia greeted the twins warmly, stepping aside to welcome them into the room. The twins entered with a mix of excitement and curiosity evident on their faces. "Hey, guys. Oh, Rimuru's here too. How's it going?" Kyla asked, her voice filled with genuine curiosity. "I'm doing great, thank you," I replied, offering them a warm smile to acknowledge their arrival. "What brings all of you here today?" "It was my decision," Jackson chimed in, interrupting the brief moment of silence as he made his way over to the couch in front of me. Laura shifted in her seat, her eyes fixed on the group entering the room. As Kyla settled down on my right and Kyle plopped down next to Jackson on the left, Julia stood behind me, silently observing the unfolding scene. Jackson's next words caught my attention, pulling me back into the present. "I dispatched Kyle and Kyla on a mission to scout the dungeon for me. The guild noticed some peculiar activities in there and requested me to investigate," Jackson explained, his tone serious and focused. To our surprise, the dungeon creatures were having in a manner we had never witnessed before. It was utter chaos, complete devastation, and not a single boss in sight. The boss room appeared to be in ruins. "In a nutshell," Kyle began, his voice filled with urgency, "we stumbled upon a group of people in a concealed chamber. And they had some extraordinary markings on their bodies." I nodded, my gaze fixed on Kyle as he reached into his dimensional ring and retrieved a crumpled piece of paper. He handed it to me, and I accepted it, carefully examining the intricate markings on its surface. The symbol depicted on the paper was a complex design etched into the skin of the individuals they had discovered. "We suspect that these people we found in the hidden chamber have ties to the other continent," Kyla interjected, her voice tinged with uncertainty. Raising an eyebrow, I contemplated their assertion. However, the other continent was only recently announced, approximately 2 years ago. It seems unlikely that they will possess knowledge of our existence so soon. I protect my true knowledge. Leaning forward, Jackson's gaze intensified with determination. "That may be true, but the fact that we discovered them recently does not guarantee that they hadn't already discovered us. The flow of information between continents might not occur simultaneously. Furthermore, we have additional reasons to suspect their origins." Julia, wearing a troubled expression, approached me and lowered herself into a deep bow. "I must apologize, Master," she began, her voice resonating with contrition. "I overheard your conversation with Master Gideon regarding the impending war with the other continent. I shared this information with Jackson, believing it might be pertinent to the individuals Kyle and Kyla encountered in the dungeon. I deeply regret my actions." I looked at Julia, still bent over in front of me. Should I be angry? For something they will know in the end? No, this might be the right time. I sobbed and reached out to lift Julia up, placing a hand on her shoulder. "It's all right, Julia, thank you for being honest with me," I said, my voice filled with a mixture of understanding and acceptance. "You were going to find out eventually anyway." "So?" Laura raised her eyebrows, anticipation evident in her eyes. "Alacria," I murmured softly, the word escaping my lips in a quiet exhalation. "Alacria?" Jackson inquired, his curiosity piqued by my utterance. "Yes, Alacria," I confirmed, my voice carried a sense of resignation and determination. "That is the name of the other continent, the continent with which we will soon find ourselves entangled in war."